Daily Fantasy Edge. That is a strong hello, given that this is our last episode of the year. Of course, I'm Peter Jennings, go by CSU Ram 88 across the daily fantasy industry. As always, joined by Al Zeidenfeld and Adam Levitan. Adam, sad day. Last three-man of the year.
It is a sad day, man. Last three-man of the year, last real slate of the year. I'm sure I'll be playing the two-game conference championship slate, but in terms of real slates, I would say this is the last one of the year. So it's sad. And as I said before, I mean, football is so far and away the best fantasy sport. I guess maybe people who like golf, you can make a case that golf is pretty fun too, but just in terms of time to research and fun and different strategies and everything, I think football is so far and away the best one. So I'm going to miss it, man. Sad day. Last three, man. I'll miss you, boys.
Al, you're going to be killing zombies, so you're happy. And as long as Levitan plays Fortnite with you, you're cheery.
Yeah, we're going to get Levitan out there on those Fortnite streets. But like, really, what I need to happen, and I may shut this entire pod down if Adam doesn't build the damn car that's over his right shoulder.
Build that car. Build that car.
I am shutting this podcast down until you build the car. Does that thing have spinners?
Adam was promised someone else would build it for him, so he's been waiting on that.
Yeah, honestly, Peter's dead on. I mean, grandparents got my kid this car. It's like a nicer car than I drive, but he's 4 for the holidays, and I haven't built it yet because I'm incapable, and I'm waiting for somebody who wants to build it for me. That's the bottom line. I'm like Trump waiting for the wall to get built. I've shut down everything until until the car gets built.
Oh man! Before this three-man gets off the rails, we do have, in my opinion, the best playoff slate of all time in DFS history. What do you guys think?
Yeah, and like honestly, as bad as last week was, and I talked on the solo pod about why I thought, like, I never call slates bad, really, why I actually thought last week's slate was really bad. This week is the exact opposite. Obviously, I'm really excited for it. DraftKings actually had to decrease the salaries of guys just so that it was possible to pay for them. So, like, Gurley is $8K, Zeke is $8,200, Melvin Gordon $6,200. They reduced Brandon Cooks to $5,600, Woods to $5,900. All these guys got huge salary decreases, and I don't think it's because they're bad plays or matchups or whatever. It's not the normal part of the algorithm. It's because there's so many expensive guys. They left them all at their normal prices. Like, you won't be able to play any of them. You know what I mean? So I think it's really interesting from that perspective.
Yeah,
Chiefs didn't seem to get any discounts.
Go ahead.
Who didn't?
The Chiefs.
Yeah, I would say Damian Williams probably the only one, but yeah, I did notice that too. Kelsey and all the quarterbacks didn't get discounts either. Tyreek got a little discount.
It's mostly the running backs that got a lot of discounts. Zeke is way down. Gurley's way down. A lot of running backs got priced down on this slate, so it allows you to fit more things than you normally can. I mean, we've got some great offenses on this slate. We have teams that can keep up with them at least. It's not a defensive slate. It's not a sluggo slate. It's not a bully ball slate. We get to watch some high-scoring football, and that's awesome for fantasy.
Yeah, kudos to DraftKings. They've had efficient pricing all year, and some people like that, some people don't. But specifically to this slate, I think the really good pricing and bringing everyone down so you can make really good teams, but you can't make just full-blown all-star squads. So it's a really nice balance. I've made a lot of teams, and I think it's a lot of fun this week. And Adam, to your point about next week playing the two-game slate, imagine not playing that slate. Like who in their right mind is going to skip out on the conference championship slate? You got to play it.
Yeah. One more thing about this weekend. I will be at the DraftKings Sports Betting National Championship. God, if you're out there and listening, you didn't let me win the Super Contest. Please, God, let me win the DraftKings Sports Betting National Championship. I'll be forever indebted. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
You'll be forever out of debt.
I'll take a win for it too. Adam, maybe you can get second. I'll take first place. That would be neat. Maybe I'll bet some props on Amari Cooper and might be able to get close to even on the guy this weekend. But that event should be fun. Cool to see DraftKings pushing the envelope with new types of contests, and hopefully this goes well. All right, let's dive into the games. We have 4 awesome games, and we start off with the highest total on the board, Adam. Colts at Chiefs. We've already done a little bit of talking about this, but what are the news and notes here?
Similar to last week when the best game, or I thought at least the clear-cut best game was the first game, we have it again this week. Colts lead the entire league in pace. Luck and Mahomes combined to throw more touchdown passes than any other playoff matchup in NFL history. You know, Kansas City is so explosive, plays so fast, is so efficient. They allow their opponents to run second most plays per game. Their defense has allowed the most completions of 20-plus yards. So, this just sets up so well for offense. From an injury perspective, I think one of the biggest things on the slate that I'm watching is the status of Spencer Ware, because I think Spencer Ware might play in this game. He's been out a long time, I believe since week 14 with a hamstring pull. He's been limited in practice this week. Even if he plays, though, I feel like he'll play the complementary role that he was playing when Kareem Hunt there, leaving Damian Williams to play the Kareem Hunt role. And yeah, it's a really bad matchup. You know, Colts are fourth in DVOA against the run. They're much easier to throw against, I think. But still, Damian Williams is only 5,100. He's caught 18 balls in his last 4 games. So I think Spencer Ware's status is hoping I'm something to get more clarity on.
So you're telling me that the Chiefs are going to be forced to throw the ball?
I think the Chiefs will be throwing a lot. And yes, I think that's exciting.
Doesn't sound like a good plan for any sort of defense, is to make Mahomes throw it more to all the targets that he has out there. Now, here's the interesting thing. Kelce at 7K, you're going to have shares of him, but I don't know if he's going to be the optimal fit for cash games with a couple of other tight ends on the slate that can do similar-ish things. One of them across the board from Kelce with Eric Ebron. Got that red Q by his name, though. I'm assuming he's going to be fine. Am I wrong
he's
there?
Fine, yep. No, he's fine, yep.
Right, so you're getting a massive savings for a guy that has a ton of end zone targets, a ton of red zone targets against the Chiefs, who are just bad in the red zone. You know, that's just the bottom line. So you have high touchdown expectation from Ebron for 1,500 less than Kelce. You have shootout possibility. I'm not going to go as far as saying the Rams versus KC on Monday night shootout possibility, but every game on this slate is at, near, or over a 50-point total. This game looks like there could be massive fireworks. And as you said, if there are massive fireworks, if this is a game where the Colts are going to have to be chasing or just trying to keep pace with this Kansas City offense, if they do score touchdowns and not field goals like we all expect, that would mean Nyheim Hines is going to play more than 9 snaps, right, Pete?
Nice toss. Nyheim Hines. I'm all in. I was all in last week. Actually,
so was I.
Out. The zero actually paid out pretty well.
It did.
I made one tournament team last week as well, and I think Hines is really nice this week. But I did play Mac in my one tournament team. I think Mac could also have a very, very big game. Kansas City, not a good run defense. And if you're the Colts, you want to keep Mahomes and these guys off the field. They've had amazing offensive line play, and I think Mac will be heavily involved. If they get down, though, which the spread suggests, is pretty likely, it's going to be Luck and Hines and all these guys. I do think the Colts players are really nice. On the Chiefs side, to me, Damian Williams is a lock. Yes, the Colts are good against the run, but to me, Damian Williams' best strength is how elusive and how good he is in the passing game, which is what we want on DraftKings anyways. So I'm really high on him. Kelce's a tough call. I think you can make arguments to punt at tight end, given how many studs we want to pay for, but I don't mind paying for Kelce at 7K. He's one of the top projected pass catchers on the entire board. And then, Adam, Ty Freak has these ridiculous splits home and away. It's correlated with the Chiefs being huge favorites most of the time when they're at home, but are you going to be investing in Ty Freak, or is it a week you're hoping he is Ty Fluke?
No, I like Ty Freak a lot. I think one thing you could say about the Colts defense, and that was one of the reasons I thought Kiki Kute was so strong last week, is they force everything underneath. I mean, the Colts allow one of the highest completion percentages in the league and also face the shallowest ADOT in the league. And they just push everything underneath in the zone scheme and then try to tackle afterwards. And that works a lot. They're really good tacklers. They do it really well. Tackling Tyreek or Ty Freak or Ty Fluke after short catches is a different story altogether. So Andy Reid's game plan should be not to try to get Ty Freak over the top. It should be to get it in his hands underneath and let him do things after the catch. I think it sets up really well for Travis Kelce as well. One other injury note I didn't mention, Sammy Watkins should be back for this game. It is a concern. Hasn't played. He's barely played since like week 9, practicing limited this week with his foot, quote unquote, heavily wrapped. The good news is it could turn into a shootout. He could or should play almost every snap. He saw at least 5 targets in 7 out of his 9 full games, and he's only 4,500, I believe. 4,500. So Sammy Watkins is always going to be a talented guy. I think he's always a threat. There's some risk there because he hasn't played in so long and still is just limited. Not like Kiki Kute, who last week was full and they were so thin. It's a little different situation, but I don't mind Sammy Watkins either. And then quickly, Al, I got to read you this list because it's so striking to me. The Colts defense has been awesome. I don't want to take anything away from them, but if you were to take something away from their last 10 quarterbacks they faced in the regular season were Gabbard, Eli, Dak, Deshaun Watson, Cody Kessler, Tannehill, Mariota, Bortles, Derek Carr, Derek Anderson, Sam Darnold. Now they face Patrick Mahomes at home. So I think you can throw out a lot of the raw numbers with the Colts pass defense and look at numbers like DVOA where they're 20th in pass defense. And to me, that just goes all back to Mahomes and the Chiefs pass game.
I mean, you also have Indy being the 3rd worst goal-to-go defense on the year, giving up a touchdown on 86.4% of their goal-to-go drives. Now, they should be able to get inside the 10-yard line, the Chiefs. And with that laundry list of quarterbacks that you just gave, not really an entire list of all pros, a lot of rookies on that list, a lot of guys that don't throw for a ton of yards, they still give up a ton of touchdowns once you get inside the red zone and inside the 10-yard line. 15-plus points in every game this season. So for Mahomes, this is just another game where the Chiefs should score their 30 to 40 points, and the Colts have the offense to be able to keep up with them. This one should be fun to watch.
Yeah, a lot of people are pointing to last week, too. Look how well the Colts defense played. And the Texans, I mean, they were hot, obviously, but they were allowing so many sacks, and it finally caught up with them. And I think the one nice thing with this game, obviously, everyone knows it's the highest total, but you also have, in my opinion, the 2 best quarterbacks from this season in the same game. I mean, Andrew Luck had an unbelievable season. Amazing. Colts, you finally invest in the offensive line, and you see what happens when you give Luck time. They also were able to establish the run when they had continuity on the offensive line. So I think the Colts offense will really excel here. The only downside is Arrowhead's a tough place to play, and it's Andy Reid off of a bye. But yeah, don't get cute and cash. I think you want a ton of exposure to this game. The shootout potential is by far the highest. Adam, any final thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't mention, I think, one of the better players on the slate is T.Y. Hilton. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many, that's the thing, in all these games, there's so many guys, and like we can talk for 10 minutes about this game and not even mention T.Y. Hilton, who got a price discount down to 6,700, and yeah, his ankle is still an issue, but man, I mean, he's so talented, and he is Andrew Luck's first read on such a high percentage of his throws. I don't think you can go too wrong with T.Y. Hilton at 6,700. It's going to be really hard for him to fail at that price, I suspect.
If you're making 150 lineups, I suggest you put the lock button on Naheem Hines. With that, let's move on. We have the next game on the slate being the Cowboys.
Chargers, right?
No, Cowboys at Rams.
Yeah, you're right. I'm off my game.
I almost confused myself because you didn't have conviction at the time. Cowboys at Rams.
How dare I question the schedule master? My fault.
Pretty easy when you're on NFL.com. What are the news and notes here, bud?
Yeah, so one of the bigger injury questions on the slate is the status of Todd Gurley. He's going to play. Is he 100%? Is he 90%? Is he 80%? We know this knee has had inflammation, has been an issue, is limited this week. Sean McVay said on Wednesday, I believe, that CJ Anderson will be part of the game plan. I don't know if that's coach speak, and being part of the game plan could mean like 2 snaps. Like we have 2 plays in here for CJ Anderson. If Todd Gurley was healthy, I think he would play close to 100% of the snaps. Obviously, it's a difficult matchup, right? Like Leighton Vander Esch and Jalen Smith are so fast and so good at the linebacker position. It's not the best matchup. I think Gurley would do his best damage, his most damage, through the air. But still, he's hard to ignore at 8K, Al, like hurt or not. Rams are going to score points, matchup or not. Like 8K is so cheap. I think people are going to be hemming and hawing over Ezekiel Elliott, who's obviously an awesome play also, versus Todd Gurley at 8K. There's a $200 difference.
I mean, look, the Rams the last couple of weeks was CJ Anderson in week 16 and week 17, doing all the work that CJ Anderson did, getting 23 carries and 3 receptions in week 17. Week 16, he got another 21 touches in that game. And you look at, was he the only guy on the field? No. John Kelly got 15 carries and a reception in week 17 and 10 carries and a reception in week 16. Nobody is going to touch the ball 40 times a game realistically, especially anybody on an injury. So let's say that they give Gurley his normal work. And without Cooper Kupp, they want to establish and run the ball a little bit more because that's what allows them to be successful with having 2 tight ends running that more often now than they did with Cooper Kupp when they were running 3 wide basically all the time. So if Gurley touches the ball 25 times at 8K and maybe Anderson gets 10 touches, fine. A lot of people are pointing to the Cowboys defense and saying how good they are. And if you look at them on the whole, yeah, they're a pretty solid defense. And part by part, their linebackers are very good. But you look at home, they allow 70.7 rushing yards per game. And on the road, 118.8 rushing yards per game. They're a different defense at Jerry's World than when they actually have to leave the friendly confines of that big old spaceship downtown in Dallas. So I'll take the Rams. I'll take Gurley in the discount. I'll take Woods and I'll take Goff, who has totally swung his home road splits from last year when he was a much better quarterback on the road to this year when you're basically expecting 25 to 28 points per game from him when he plays at home. I want to load up on this Rams offense. I know the Cowboys have been a tough defense so far this year, but if Gurley's good enough to go, they're going to give him whatever they need to give him to make him not feel the pain as long as it's not structural, and he should get his 22 to 27 touches, in my opinion, and I'm willing to be wrong, but I don't see Zeke as being head and shoulders a better play than Gurley, which has been the response that I've gotten for most of this week from a lot of different people. I'm just not seeing it. Give me Gurley. Give me the home-favored running back against a defense that is not as good on the road at stopping the run.
Yeah, Al, you hit on so many points there that I think are really sharp. To me, the Rams represent the second best, or the Colts are really nice. They're an Arrowhead, but this offense is what you want exposure to outside of that game. Jared Goff pronounced home road splits this year, which makes sense. Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks are both really cheap. Gerald Everett, if you want to punt at tight end and save there to get guys like Michael Thomas and these running backs and whoever else, certainly makes sense. And I want to be as invested as I possibly can be with this offense in correlation with the Chiefs and Colts game. Now, Adam, this creates a little bit of a problem because we like to have an edge on our opponents by maximizing late swap and swapping against our opponents when we were blocked, or if you have an opponent you know is going to swap, you can potentially block them there too. So that's the downside, but I'm with Al. I love this Rams offense, and I want to get your take on Amari Cooper because I should not be giving the take, but he did come out and say he's done extremely well, obviously against Peters, but he knows Talib really well too. So the quotes from Amari, if you're going to load up on this Rams offense, he certainly is in play to run it back.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same opinion about Amari every week. He's an extremely talented player with a reasonable role. I think a lot of his big plays for the Cowboys have come on broken plays and kind of fluky things, but he's an extremely talented player, and he has a really good target share. I think we've seen the extreme volatility of Dak. We've seen the extreme volatility of Amari. So I don't think that Amari's in the same class to me as T.Y. Hilton for only 200 less. But, it is what it is. I have maybe more concerns than you guys about the Rams pass game just because Jared Goff has struggled so badly without Cooper Kupp. I mean, maybe I'm thinking too much about it or reading too much into it. It just seems like they have not been clicking. Now you give Sean McVay essentially 3 weeks off to get ready for this game. I think that certainly helps. But yeah, I mean, the price tags on Cooks and Woods certainly stick out like a sore thumb. A couple of other injury notes on the Dallas side. Cole Beasley and Blake Jarwin are both nursing ankle sprains. I wouldn't be surprised if Beasley guts it out. I would be surprised if Jarwin ends up playing. Either way, like Beasley limited or out and Jarwin out would probably be a good thing for Amari Cooper if they can get him into the slot more, which I think is what they should do anyways, and would certainly project to raise Michael Gallup's target share a little bit. Michael Gallup's completion percentage is like so embarrassing. So he's really just like a shot play. But yeah, I think, maybe I'm a little bit lower on the Rams offense than you guys. Maybe I'm a little higher on Zeke, but we'll see, man. I haven't really decided yet.
I just don't have, to me, I think that they're close. I think that Zeke and Gurley are very close. I think that Gurley has a much higher touchdown expectation than Zeke does. Right? Gurley with 40 touchdowns since the beginning of last season, the most by any running back, and second place is like Kamara with 33. So much higher touchdown expectation. Add in the fact that they're playing at home and favored with one of the higher team totals on the slate. He's the running back that I want here. I think that Zeke is fine. I'm not fading Zeke. See, there's the difference, right? It's not like, well, I can only pick one, and if I'm wrong, I get hanged in the public square. Like, I think both are good. I prefer Gurley to Zeke this week.
One guy we didn't mention, Pete, is Josh Reynolds, and they did go back to, I know Al's right, they have played more 2 tight end sets lately, but they did go back to a lot of Josh Reynolds, and 11% on week 17. Josh Reynolds is down at 4,700, I believe. His target share and air yards is not that far off of Cooks and Woods, and I think Reynolds is going to go under-owned just because he's close in price. For sure, Cooks and Woods are better plays, but Reynolds, I think, is at least in the conversation, I would say.
Yeah, he's 4,500. He's right next to Watkins, and then I think the best play in that range is going to be Ted Ginn, who's getting talked up quite a bit. When you're looking at these guys, they're all pretty much tournament options. I think Reynolds is fine. And I understand the concern. I do think the offense hasn't been as good without Kupp, but and the price tag on Jared Goff, 5,500. Yeah, Mahomes is an amazing play and probably the right answer in cash at 7K. But in tournaments, getting Goff at 5,500 is pretty nice. And I do think that there's some sneaky upside. Maybe Gallup is a better play if you're expecting this game to shoot out than Amari Cooper, given his price tag. But I think all these guys are certainly interesting. I brought up Gerald Everett. He's someone that I'm definitely looking at. Was pretty involved, the previous 3 weeks outside of San Francisco, which is obviously a different game plan. Do you guys have any interest in Gerald Everett at 2,700?
6+ targets in 3 of his last 4 games. And Dallas has had some issues against tight ends. 5 times this year they've allowed a tight end to score 20+ points. So you get a good floor for the low salary. What is he, 2,500 this week?
27,
Yeah, like something like basically bare minimum or close to it. So what do you really need or expect out of him? You're hoping for like 6 to 10 fantasy points. But you know that you do have the possibility for ceiling because only the Bengals allowed more 20+ point games to opposing tight ends this year. So you do have the floor. You know that he's involved. And you have the possibility at maybe catching a ceiling game for a super, super cheap player.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And the only thing I would add on Gerald Everett is he's a talented dude. I mean, 2nd-round pick in 2017. He's not like some stiff out there, like Dalton Schultz or something like that. Like, I think Gerald Everett can play. Yeah.
Let's not say things we can't take back about Dalton Schultz.
I played Dalton Schultz on Thanksgiving. What a disaster that was.
I will mention in that same price range, you have Dallas Goedert, Hunter Henry. We're about to get to Hunter Henry in that game. Those are all the punt options. And then you clearly have, the guys at the top, Kelsey, Ertz, Ebron, and then kind of Gronk and Jarwin in the mid-range. So tight end is an interesting position with a lot of optionality, which I think will make the slate a lot of fun. I also think this is a week where you could consider going 2 tight ends, a tight end in the flex. And if you're Al, you can play 3 tight ends with the extra flex spot. All right,
play let's keep it moving. Defense.
Let's keep moving to the Chargers at New England. Adam, am I a fish that I like the Chargers in this spot? Just in general, not necessarily from a DFS perspective, but it feels to me that the Chargers are a far superior team. However, betting against New England, Belichick, Brady in the playoffs in Foxborough has not been a profitable endeavor.
Yeah, so my first instinct was the Chargers are better, and that's the bottom line. Everybody is on the Chargers. Like, it's very rare for a consensus on betting to be on an underdog. It's very rare for consensus to be on the underdog going to Foxborough in the playoffs against Brady. I mean, everybody is on the Chargers. That scares me from that perspective because the line isn't really moving that much. It opened 4.5 and now it's 4. I don't know, man. Like, it's an interesting spot. I agree with you. The Chargers, I think, are for sure better. From a DFS perspective, the big story to watch is the status of Melvin Gordon's knees. We now have issues on both knees. Allegedly, a minor sprain on the right knee came in with a more serious sprain on the left knee. He's been dropped down to 6,200. And for sure, the best way to beat the Patriots is to run the ball and throw the ball to your running backs. I mean, without a doubt, Stephon Gilmore, Jason McCourty, both in the top 7 of PFF's corner grades. They've just dominated opposing wide receivers. Melvin Gordon at 6,200, if he was healthy, would just be an absolute lock. However, with these knee issues, Al, I am a bit scared. I think Melvin Gordon's knees are in worse shape than Todd Gurley's knees, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not in the Chargers locker room. I don't know. I hope to get more info on these knee situations. So how do you think we handle Melvin Gordon at 6,200?
There's something must be in the air here in Los Angeles that all the running backs in LA have knee problems right now. But I'm very disappointed in you, Adam. I'm really very disappointed in you. 61% of the tickets have been put on the Chargers so far. You have a classic West Coast team going east to play an early game in the cold weather against in Foxborough against Tom Brady. I was fully expecting the sunglasses and hearing House of the Rising Sun in the background while you play the end scene from Casino and tell me that this is your Ace Rothstein spot and bet the Patriots and play all of them this week. I am very let down right now.
Here's the problem. All Patriots lines are like always inflated because the name, not because the talent on the team or whatever, just because the name's on the back of the jersey. So I hate to take the Patriots ever, and that's why I'm scared. It's an interesting spot, man. It's to me the most interesting betting spot of the weekend for sure.
You're cutting the brisket against the grain right now. I count on certain things in life: death, taxes, and Adam letting me know about West Coast teams going east to play a cold weather game early in the morning.
So the Chargers you go 12-4. Your first game's at Baltimore.
Yeah.
You go home. Your second game's at New England. You know, I mean,
you gotta go back.
They're just getting screwed. Yeah, I mean, they're getting screwed for sure.
Yeah.
I think a lot
of the Patriots are underpriced. I didn't mean to cut you off, Pete. Go ahead.
No, it's your chance to get some analysis in. I do like you needling Levitan. He's, I'd say, a 5 of 1 to 10 scale and tilt, but maybe you can get to him to a 7 or 8 in the next little bit.
I mean, look, I agree about Melvin Gordon. If I knew that Melvin Gordon was healthy, and he did not look good last week. But again, who looks good against Baltimore? So like maybe that was it, but he did look a little bit hobbled. And maybe that's fine now. Everybody's hurt. You know, it's week 19 of the NFL schedule following 4.5 weeks of preseason. Everybody's hurt. It's just how they manage it right now. I still feel like James White is really too cheap. The Chargers are allowing the third highest completion percentage when teams target their running backs against them, 82%. The Chargers are allowing the 5th most yards per reception to running backs in the league. James White, just too cheap and allows you to fit in 1-2 of those studs up top if you're playing a 3 running back lineup. Julian Edelman also seems too cheap. Those mid-price wide receivers, T.Y. Hilton, Julian Edelman, Woods, Cooks, those like 5,500 to 7K wide receivers really look tasty on this slate, and Edelman's no different to me.
So I have a little bit of different take. I actually probably will be fading Edelman. I get it in terms of the price, and he is a nice DraftKings play. But looking at this matchup, if I'm the Patriots, and what I think they're going to do is try to really run the football with Sony Michel. I do like James White, but this Chargers defense has an elite pass rush with Joey Bosa back. Bosa attracts a lot of attention, and we all saw the huge game that Ingram had last week. I think the way you want to attack this Chargers defense is going to be running the football. So I'm a little concerned about Edelman. I do like the White call. And Edelman is just an opportunity costing for me. I just prefer Cooks, Woods, T.Y. Hilton over him, but he's still a really good play. I'm not trying to bash him. I think the game plan for the Patriots will be running the football. But I could be wrong on that, Adam. What do you think? If you're Bill Belichick, how are you attacking this Chargers defense?
Oh, I mean, without a doubt, it's with Sony Michel. I mean, there's no doubt. I don't know if the game will go that way, but their game plan, I think, will almost certainly be a lot of Sony Michel playing that LeGarrette Blount role. I mean, it's such a boring role. I mean, he doesn't even run routes, let alone catch passes. But I think the guy who has the chance to be this week's Marlon Mack, in other words, 100+ yards and a touchdown and really pay off would be the best candidate would be Sony Michel. I mean, it's almost the same role that Marlon Mack has. I think we should talk about Chris Hogan because people are going to be scraping for value so hard. And Chris Hogan's 3,900 and saw 11 targets in week 17. He's going to be out there with Josh Gordon gone. I mean, played 88% of the snaps in week 16 and 17, ran a route on 100% of Tom Brady's dropbacks. this spot in the Patriots offense can be forgotten at times. Like first 3 weeks of the season, there was no Josh Gordon, there was no Julian Edelman. Chris Hogan still didn't top 50 yards. In week, I believe it was 16, Chris Hogan saw 0 targets. So I think the floor is way lower than people give it credit for. And the ceiling honestly is not that exciting to me given a matchup with Casey Hayward and all that. But I mean, we have to scrape to find guys below 4K, I think, Al, and maybe Chris Hogan is one of the best guys below 4K. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's on that list, but they're all kind of I mean, Cordell Patterson being out last game led to Hogan playing a ton and led to an uptick in Dorsett, which I don't think we're going to see with Patterson being back this week. In regard to Edelman going back a second, a touchdown or 10 plus targets in 10 of his last 11 games. What is he, 11th in the league in red zone targets and missed the first 4 games of the season? I think that he's going to go under-owned based on the other guys around him that have more big playability, all these other things, but his touchdown expectation is higher this year than it ever has been in the past. And the matchup is good too, considering that, like you said, Hayward on the outside, things get kind of forced to the slot. So now I don't even know what podcast I'm on anymore, because Adam first tells me that he's fading the West Coast to East Coast narrative going to cold weather. And then he tells me he's playing the guy in the LeGarrette Blount role in a game where he thinks that the Chargers are the better team and going to be playing from ahead. So the Patriots are going to be riding their back that they ride when they're playing from ahead. I'm very confused right now.
It's a tricky spot, and I like Edelman by far the most of the other pass catchers for New England, with the exception of maybe James White. I think James White's probably my favorite Patriot in terms of pass catchers. I like the Michel call. I mean, if you're going to take Patriots winning this game, Sony Michel, maybe the Patriots defense makes sense. But
who's winning this game, Adam?
I wish if I knew, that'd be awesome.
I'm just saying,
be getting rich this weekend.
When you were playing LeGarrette Blount 2 years ago, right? Back when he had his run with the Patriots that year, we had like 16 touchdowns, whatever he had. You played him in games you thought they were going to be up by 10 or more points. So if you don't project that the Patriots are going to be playing with a lead in this game, if you think they're going to play with a lead, by all means play Sony Michel. If you think the Chargers are winning this game, you have to play Edelman and White. And it's basically up to how you think that game flow is going to go. Because, yeah, what they want to do may not be what happens. And if you're telling me that everybody thinks that the Chargers are the better team and the Chargers are going to win the game on the field, not just cover or, but win the game on the field, then Sony Michel's carries come way down. They're not going to be 25 of them. There might be 15 of them.
For sure.
And he's not catching the ball at all. If you think the Patriots are going to win this game because they're playing at home and Tom Brady and Belichick and all the other stuff, and you think they're going to win the game by 7 or more, then you're riding Sony Michel all the way to the bank. But those two things are somewhat mutually exclusive when playing the ground and pound running back for the Patriots.
Yeah.
Right. It's game flow dependent.
Right.
Go ahead,
yes. Like, I was just going to say, when you're making lineups, like, you have to make them correlated. You know what I mean? Like, so we talked about in other games, like guys that correlate with each other based on how you think the game will go. I mean, that should be more clear in these small slates than any other slates for sure.
Totally agree. And I want to just circle back on one thing on Melvin Gordon. Yes, he's 6,200. And you say, oh, Melvin Gordon, 6,200. But keep in mind, everyone is priced down. You really have to, instead of just thinking about the player and the price, you have to think about their relative price, because everyone's priced so far down on DraftKings this week with all the studs. So yes, he's 6,200. He is healthy. I'd feel really good about playing him at this price tag. But with the injury concerns, I think it's far too risky. Maybe a tournament only play, because I think people might be scared to click his name. But I certainly prefer the two top guys, and Kamara to me is a way better play. And then you have cheaper options. So Gordon, from an equity standpoint, with the risk is too much for me. But if we get news that he's feeling better, I certainly think you can fire him up in tournaments. I also wanted to bring up one other guy in this game, and that's Keenan Allen, who's 100 more than Edelman. Adam, who's in your lineup?
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots have shown a willingness to use Jason McCourty in the slot. Keenan Allen, I believe, had like 47 out of his 97 catches in the slot this year. So I don't think it's a great matchup. But Keenan Allen, when he wins, when he has big games, it's just with like absurd volume. And it is with just like raw talent, because he's 99th in ADOT in the entire league, and he's 58th in YAC. Like, he doesn't do anything explosive. His targets are so short. He just needs like 10, 11, 12 targets and to catch like 9, 10 of them and get a touchdown. But it's certainly possible, you know? I mean, he's just such a talented guy. So, yeah. A couple other injury notes that I didn't mention. Hunter Henry practicing in full. Looks like he'll be active for a pitch count, quote unquote, from Anthony Lynn in this game. And then we didn't mention Rob Gronkowski or the corpse of Rob Gronkowski at 4,600. Running around out there with a piano on his back. And we also didn't mention Mike Williams, who has seen a bit of a role change lately. For the first time recently, has started running more routes than Al's boy, Tyrell the Gazelle. So I think Mike Williams in an extremely difficult matchup is at least kind of a bet on talent play also. I mean, it's amazing. We're spending more time on these games than we are on like full slates. It's just there's so many plays.
Mike Williams, love that call. Super talented dude. And yeah, either one of the Williams is nice. And Al, you absolutely have to play Tyrell the Gazelle just so you can have the prancing gazelle gif, which is worth more than money. All right, let's move to the final game on the slate. We have Philadelphia, New Orleans. News and notes here, Adam. I think there are some phenomenal plays on the Saints side. What are you expecting in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I doubted the Eagles throughout their playoff run last year. I doubted them last week. I'm just kind of like done doubting them. I'm done saying like they just can't go on these places in these difficult spots on the road and win because it's so obvious that they can and they have. I will say the Saints are so rested and should be so ready. They didn't play most of their starters in week 17. Then they had the bye week. You know, they had offensive line injuries. And when their offensive line is healthy, it's for sure one of the best, if not the best in the league. They're all healthy. You know, Kamara should be extremely fresh. Ted Ginn, who came off of IR return in week 16 and saw 8 targets, sat out week 17 and now got the bye week. He should be ready for his full-time role, which means he'll be among the slate's leaders in ADOT and all that. So I think there's a lot to like on the Saints side. I think the most popular player on the Saints side will almost certainly be Alvin Kamara. Maybe Michael Thomas, but probably Alvin Kamara. Yeah, I don't know, man. You think Michael Thomas will be more owned than Kamara?
I think Kamara will be more owned, but I think Michael Thomas is as good or a better play.
Yeah.
I think Michael Thomas is the best play in this game.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Adam, if you endorse him as the best play in the game, he for sure will be the highest owned player. I mean nothing. But if you endorse him, if you stamp it right now and say, I'm playing Michael Thomas in my cash game, he's definitely going to be in my lineup. He will be higher owned.
I'm Adam Levitan, and I...
Do a nice personation here, Al. Try to be Adam here.
I'm dying over here. I'm sure producer Luke did a great job, but like every time I'm not talking, I'm like coughing. I feel like I'm gonna die.
Al's questionable to finish this podcast, so let me come on.
Let me say this about Michael.
Give the answers to the test, bud.
Okay, I'll say this about Michael Thomas. He's 7,900, which on this slate is extremely expensive.
Yes.
Since Mark Ingram returned, Michael Thomas has been under 20 DraftKings points in 8 of 12 games.
I like what you're doing. Lower the ownership. Yes.
His average depth of his ADOT is lower, I believe, than Keenan Allen's. His YAC is a little bit better. The difference, I think, between why Michael Thomas is better than Keenan Allen, his touchdown equity is so high. Like, for sure, one of Drew Brees' first reads in the end zone and the red zone is Michael Thomas. I think he was second in the league in targets behind only DeAndre Hopkins in targets inside the 10-yard line. Michael Thomas is for sure a good play. If you go back through and see what he's done since Mark Ingram has returned, it has not been pretty. I think he has like 300-yard games or something since then, which in today's NFL is really low. So again, I think Michael Thomas is fine and good, and everybody has a throw-heavy game plan against the Eagles. Like, that's just what everybody does. But, you know, I think that I don't want to say what I plan to do, but my first instinct was to maybe, I don't even want to say. I don't want to say.
His first instinct was to fade Michael Thomas, is what he did not want to say there.
He's teetering.
Yeah.
We got him fired up a little bit.
A little bit. I mean, look, I agree that things kind of change when you have a run-heavy game plan, which the Saints clearly do, especially on the road. But at home this year, Michael Thomas's splits have kind of gone the way of Drew Brees, averaging 24.2 points per game at home versus 17 on the road. Drew Brees, somebody who's probably going to carry lower ownership this week than he should, considering that Patrick Mahomes is 300 more, so everybody's going to go to Patrick Mahomes. Well, you get a little bit more PMR. You get a guy that has the massive upside that Drew Brees has playing in the Superdome, and 21 touchdown passes versus 1 interception. You look at the amount of times that he's thrown for either 4 touchdowns or over 360 yards. It's basically every time but one when they've played at home this year. He's either had 365 or 4 touchdowns, except one game. You're going to have massive upside from Drew Brees here against a team that is not equipped to stop. Good pass-catching wide receivers, so Michael Thomas. Ill-equipped to stop deep balls, Ted Ginn back and healthy and ready to go. Philly is basically allowing opponents to complete 47% of deep passes since week 10, which is one of the 9th highest in the league so far. You also have one of the best pass-catching backs in the league, and they've allowed the 3rd most receptions to opposing running backs with Alvin Kamara. Give me a super stack here. Give me a Saints onslaught that's going to be lower owned because of the Rams offense, because of the Chiefs and the Colts. I'll take the PMR. I'll have my main lineups up front, but like the the Saints for GPP, give me an onslaught. I'll say it if Adam won't.
I love it. Gives you hope, right?
Yes.
Things can be going poorly, but you still have that one bullet in the chamber. You have the Saints onslaught. I love it. I mean, I think Ted Ginn is one of the best tournament plays on the entire board. I really think he helps the offense overall. The defense has to respect his deep ball ability, which should open things up for Michael Thomas. I think Kamara is one of the best plays on the slate. And on the Eagles side, you have Zach Ertz at a discount. Everyone's at a discount, so it's all relative, but he's cheap for the targets he should see. And Darren Sproles, Adam, is now the lead back for the Eagles based on last week. If they get down, which the spread suggests will happen, Darren Sproles could be really involved in the passing game and certainly fits on some of these, game stacks that you want to do. Golden Tate got more involved last week. Alshon Jeffrey. You have Nelson Aguilar playing well. There's options on this Eagles team. You have a preference on any of those? And what are your thoughts on Sproles versus Smallwood?
Yeah. I mean, the notable thing on the Eagles backfield is Josh Adams only played 1 snap last week, so we're really down to a 2-man backfield, which obviously helps them both. Obviously, I'd rather play Sproles for the pass game upside and for the way I think this game's going to go, although I've been so wrong on the Eagles, as I mentioned in the playoffs the last 2 years. And I think people aren't going to play Ertz because the matchup is so incredibly difficult. I mean, the Saints have just suffocated opposing tight ends, but we know Nick Foles is part of the Bible narrative, and obviously Zach Ertz is. We saw in week 16 the ceiling that Zach Ertz can have. People aren't going to be excited to click Golden Tate or Nelson Aguilar either, probably not even Alshon Jeffrey either. I think all those guys will come at pretty low ownership, just because their equity is so much worse than some of these other wide receivers who are in the 5K range.
Yep. Definitely great games. Best playoff slate, the GOAT playoff slate we've ever had. It's the end, boys. Ad, I'll kick it to you. That's it. You can give your final words for the 3-man. I'll give mine, and then we'll kick it to Al to end the show.
Yeah, we'll be back on Tuesday to wrap things up with the solo pod and say our official my official tearful goodbyes. Big thanks to Al and Pete for taking the time out of their week every week to do this show. They're giving away their actual lineups. I, of course, am not, so shout out to them. Thanks to all you guys for listening. I mean, the listener league filling to 10K, I think, was a major highlight. Getting the show on YouTube was a major highlight for Al. I don't have many other highlights, but yeah, the pod will continue. We'll keep doing it going forward, and we'll talk some basketball, we'll talk some golf, and then we'll start getting ready for NFL too. But hope you guys join me on Tuesday for the official goodbyes, where I'll have more of a formal goodbye on Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely check out the solo pod. It's been fun donating to Skin to Fur. It's been fun donating to the Duck Treats. Mari Cooper actually made me money somehow this year, which is shocking considering my DraftKings results. But shout out to Amari. Very excited for this slate. It's been a good start to the year. And I'm going to miss you boys. This is, I enjoy this. This has been a lot of fun. And yeah, the highlight of the year for sure was hashtag make it bigger and getting it to 10K. Next year, we'll have the Millionaire Maker. Al, get us out of here.
Yeah, next year the goal is the rake-free Millionaire Maker. We'll try and get that done, but y'all guys, you listeners do have to help out with that and jump into that league. Thank you guys for all the support so far this year and the previous 4 years that we've been doing this podcast. It's been a ton of fun. We'll continue it on throughout the off season. Maybe we'll have some golf pods. Maybe we'll do some interview pods, which I thought were great last season as well, last off season as well. And we'll make it to next football season where hopefully Adam will have gotten the car made. Pete will get out of his hostage situation, and maybe I'll have shed a few LBs before that gets there. So thank you for a great 2018 football season. Good luck to you guys this week. And if we don't win a GPP, we hope that one of you guys do. Bye, everybody.
We are promoters at DraftKings and also avid fans. Our usernames are Adam Levitan, Al Smizzle, and CSU Ram 88. We may sometimes play on our personal accounts in the games that we offer advice on. Although we have expressed our personal view on the games and strategies in this podcast, they do not necessarily reflect the views of DraftKings, and we also may deploy different players and strategies than what we recommended in this podcast.